Hello friends, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am planning to decorate my house for Christmas. You're not going to see that in this video, but what my plan is this week is to kind of just clean up, declutter where it needs to be decluttered so that I can have a clean home to put up my Christmas decorations. And I thought while I do that, I would share my story with you. When I first started my YouTube channel, I did share my testimony, and I will link that video in the description box below. But I've had an increase in subscribers since then, so I thought I should do it again. Not only because of the increase in subscribers, but because more has happened in my life that brings Jesus to light that I want to share. There is possibly someone out there who will click on this video and will need to be encouraged today. And if my story will do that for just one person, then this video will be a huge success in my eyes, all for the glory of God. So let's dive into it. I was born into a Christian family. I was homeschooled from grade 1 to graduation. We went to church every Sunday, and even on vacations, my dad either found us a church to attend or we listened to our church back home online. My parents made it a part of our daily routine to read the Bible together as a family, and I'll be honest, the older I got, the less I want to be a part of it. Around the age of 5 was the first time my dad shared the gospel with me, and I remember going off and praying that Jesus would forgive me of my sins and that I would have Jesus living inside of me. But let's get real. Who truly understands the gospel at the age of 5? Around the age of 11, I could start understanding it a bit better and was scared of ending up in hell. So almost every night I would repent and ask Jesus to save me. At 13 is where my rebellion started. I had met a boy, and honestly, I don't need to say much more on that, but I will say as a young girl who always wanted to get married and start a family, I truly believed this boy was the one I was going to marry. However, 13 is too young to start dating, and my parents knew that, so they discouraged me from hanging out with him. Mainly because he wasn't a Christian and it was changing my attitude. Lo and behold, by the age of 14, this boy had moved on and my heart had been shattered. I quickly got over it. Shocker. By 15, we had moved away from my childhood home and into town. I wanted to go to heaven when I died, and so frequently I asked Jesus to forgive my sins and save me. The year I turned 17, I got baptized, and that's where the troubles really started. I remember my pastor telling me that by taking this stand, my life wasn't going to get any easier. I would face temptations because Satan didn't want me living for Jesus or being baptized. And boy, was my pastor right. Shortly after I turned 18, I went on a short-term mission trip to Tijuana, Mexico. My eyes were really open to true poverty and how good we have it back in North America. And I wanted to make a change after that, and I did. For about 3 months, you could say I was a godly young woman. I started texting with a guy in early October that was fairly innocent. Not a lot, just a little here and a little there. Mid-October, I went with a friend to a women's conference in Denver, Colorado. I left there on this spiritual high. But with every high comes a low, and it's how you respond to the low that matters. Well, I didn't respond well to it. My texting with this guy started to really pick up. And again, he wasn't a Christian. We hung out fairly regularly, and then right before I turned 19, we officially started dating, much to my parents' wishes. That relationship lasted a year, and I had walked away from my faith unknowingly. It's not that I rejected my faith, I just stopped maintaining it. I stopped reading my Bible and praying. I avoided my family's devotional time. I stayed up way too late watching movies and going to work exhausted. I went to church but didn't listen to the service. I skipped out on Bible study, claiming I had prayed I skipped out on Bible study, claiming I had prayed about coming and I didn't feel led to come. I was told by a lady in my church, there are some things you don't need to pray about, and she was right. This relationship ended right before I turned 20, and it was a messy breakup. It affected my next whole year and took a toll on my life. That November, my grandfather passed away quickly and somewhat unexpected. That's the first time I had lost someone close to me, and it really, really hurt. Shortly after, I decided I needed to get out of town and start fresh. I didn't realize it then, but I was running away, running from hurt, from toxic relationships, from trials, and I think in my mind, leaving my hometown and going somewhere else, I was hoping to meet the person I was meant to marry. I definitely didn't think he was going to be in my small hometown. I decided on another small town just south of Calgary, mainly because one of my best friends lived there and my uncle and aunt lived in Calgary. That way I'm not totally alone. I've been there before to visit and went to church. With the help of my friend's mom, I found a basement suite in the home of the youth pastor couple for cheap rent. I didn't have a job lined up, but within 1 to 2 weeks of living there, I had a part-time job, and a month later, I found another part-time job, and I was quite busy. I barely scraped by each month. I wasn't really making enough to pay for everything and managed to max out my credit card. I slowly but surely started reading my Bible and praying again. I committed my life to God and again was doing my best to live right, but I still deeply struggled with sin. While living there, I had a breakdown. I had gone home in May because my sister was due to have a baby and I had only had so and so much time off, and I ended up having to go back to work before the baby was born and missed it. It was that week where I realized I didn't want to be apart from my family anymore. I so badly wanted to go home. When I got back to my small basement suite, I wept. I asked God what He wanted from me, where He wanted me, and I surrendered everything to Him. A few days later, my sister had her baby, and as sad as I was not to be there, I was over the moon excited for her. A month later, my brother got engaged, and it dawned on me that I had no vacation days left at my job, so I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to go home for the wedding. Nearing the end of June, my mom, brother, aunt, cousin, and grandma came to Calgary to surprise my aunt and uncle. So I got to spend some time with my family, and it was during that weekend and having a conversation with my mom that I decided it was time to move home. And what I'm about to say next is a God thing. When I told my friend's mom that I was going back, she said she strongly believed that I'd be married within the year. This was June 2017. Keep that in mind. I laughed at her because I hadn't even met anyone. After I moved home in July, I ended up getting my old job back. I started dating someone, but something in my gut said it wasn't right, but we continued dating anyway. Then in November, I got a text. "Hey, my name is Brent. Thinking of coming to town. Would you like to grab coffee with me?" My first thought, well, that's random. I knew who this guy was, but never gave him any thought. He was my pastor's nephew and the cousin to some friends of mine that came to my church. I was currently dating someone when he asked, and so I said no, but something was telling me I needed to say yes. A week later, while on a double date with my sister, her fiance, and the guy I was dating, I couldn't get my mind off this Brent guy. I knew he lived in central BC, and I didn't really want to move away again, but my mind kept wondering, would it be another adventure? After my date was dropping me off, I sort of ended things. That evening, I texted Brent and said if he was still willing to have coffee if he came to town, I'd be willing. And we continued texting. Actually, 2 weeks into texting constantly, we called every evening. Something about this guy felt so right, and I was praying the Lord would help me do what is right. It became extremely clear one evening when I knew I had to ask Brent about some spiritual standards that I couldn't compromise on. One being alcohol. I don't drink, never have, never will, and I wasn't going to marry somebody who was okay with it, not even a little. And two, I do not agree and cannot be with someone who is okay with divorce and remarriage. I needed to be with somebody whose foundation was once you're married for life. So our daily phone call one evening, I was anxious. I knew I had to ask him these hard questions, and every other guy I had dated I had to compromise on, and I figured it would happen now too. Except I made a promise to God that I wasn't. So if Brent tolerated these, one or both of these matters, I had to end our relationship that evening. He called me, and before we got into anything serious, he said he had something he needed to discuss with me. Before I even got to bring up my questions, he asked, "What's your take on alcohol and divorce and remarriage?" I could not believe my ears. He needed to know because he couldn't be with someone who tolerated one or both of these matters. I told him I had planned on asking him the exact same questions because I was the same way. That evening, we knew we were meant to be together, and he planned a trip to come visit. We had our first date on December 1st and fell head over heels. I visited his family for Christmas, and he came to my family for New Year's. He surprised me near the end of January with a proposal. I went to visit in February, and he came for my sister's wedding in April. And then I moved there in May, and we were married on May 19th, 2018. So there is a lot more to this story that I definitely want to share with you, starting from when we got married to where we are today, but I'm going to save that for another video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.